Everybody, welcome to Cinema Trip Reviews, and today we're going to be reviewing 13 Ghosts. Everybody, welcome to Cinema Trip Reviews. Today we're going to be reviewing the 2001 film 13 Ghosts. I'm joined here this week by Alex once again. Man, this is actually a movie I have grown up to love. I watched it as a kid growing up. What about you, man?
Yeah, actually, I remember it coming out. This is probably one of the horror because what were we 10, 9 when this movie came out? Pretty
Not
young.
even, yeah.
So I actually remember this is one of the first horror movies my mom actually let me watch when it came out to rental and stuff. Why she chose this one, I don't know, but I remember this coming out.
Yeah, I specifically remember my dad renting it and watching it, and I would come in and watch parts, and then it was just too scary. I had to leave, but I wouldn't sit there. And like a couple years later, I ended up watching the full movie and getting it on VHS and just rewatching it from time to time.
I
Uh,
used to have a neighbor, and her daughters would rent movies, and then me and my mom and my family would rent movies, and then we'd swap movies. And I remember that this was a movie they rented and eventually swapped to us, and my
yeah,
mom let me watch it, and I was like, all right, cool.
yeah, but I always kind of had a fondness for this movie growing up, and it's been a while since I watched it, so going back and rewatching it, I think it still holds up today, man. A lot of the effects, a lot of some of the scares. I wouldn't say it's super scary by any means. If you're prone to seizures, you probably don't want to watch this movie.
I was gonna say that. It was kind of giving me a headache. I was like, "Oh my god, dude!"
Yeah.
Like, ugh.
Apparently, because I was doing some research on the movie itself, apparently a lot of people during like test screenings and stuff, they had to kind of pull it back a little bit because people were getting like sick watching it and just
That
getting
was
headaches
pulled
and
back.
nausea. Yeah, that was
Oh,
pulled back what we
oh
saw.
my lord,
Apparently.
dude! It's so jumpy. It's like a 2001 music video. It's just
Yeah.
like so jumpy.
It is every time you see a ghost. But going into the kind of the history here, this was made by Dark Castle Productions, which was founded by Joel Silver, who was, I believe, he was a producer on The Matrix at the time. Robert Zemeckis, which is weird because he directed like Forrest Gump and other huge movies at the time in the '90s, and also
Okay.
Gilbert Howler, who produced and I think he directed a lot of Tales from the Crypt stuff. But they formed Dark Castle, which was pretty much going to be just making horror movies, and they started off remaking some old horror movies,
And they
including
did a lot.
yeah,
Yeah,
including 13 Ghosts, which is I've never seen the original, but it's like an
me
old
either.
black and white horror movie. Kind of the same premise in a way, just someone inherits a house, has 13 ghosts in it, pretty
I'll
much.
try. I'll check it out one day.
Yeah, but they also remade House on Haunted Hill, the old Vincent Price movie. That came out around this time. Ghost Ship isn't a remake, but that came out around this time as
I like
well.
that movie.
House of Wax was also a remake. They ended up doing
I
that
like
one
that
as
movie.
well. And then they did like The Orphan, which is a pretty good movie, and Gothica, which I've seen once or twice. I don't really remember it too much, but that had like Holly Berry in it
Halle Berry in it. I
and
actually
Robert Downey
that.
Jr.
Can I just get on a side note about Gothica, real quick? And
Yeah.
you're not going to agree with me. They do a Limp Bizkit does a remix of Behind Blue Eyes, and I think it's better than the Who. And fucking I'll die on that hill too. But
Yeah,
anyways,
I can't agree with you there. But that's something I probably want to go back and rewatch eventually. Maybe do a review of that. But yeah, like what we said, this is a remake of 13 Ghosts. I believe it was from 1960. The only thing this really has in common, other than just the basic premise of them inheriting a house with ghosts in it, is they kept the glasses where you could see the ghosts. Because the original movie was huge because they used 3D technology in the 1960s. This was one of the first movies to use 3D. And apparently they were going to do 3D like that in this movie before it was coming out. They wanted to make this 3D because they wanted to make it where you're putting the glasses on to see the ghosts as well, which I think it's pretty cool in theory, but I don't know how it would have translated in 2001.
yeah, I don't know if the technology would have quite have been there to like if they could make the two viewing experiences different, that would be cool.
Yeah,
Like you couldn't really make the ghost out unless you put the glasses on.
that would have been awesome.
That would be cool.
But yeah, this was directed by Steve Beck. This is one of his two only movies that he directed. He directed this and Ghost Ship right afterwards
I like this.
for Dark Castle, and then he retired from filmmaking. But he also, before he did these movies, he was actually a visual effects artist for The Hunt for Red October, The Abyss, and also Indiana Jones and the Last Crusade, apparently. So he has a couple huge movies under his belt before he even started directing. But as everybody knows, this movie stars Matthew Lillard, Shannon Elizabeth in her prime there, Tony Shalhoub, and F. Murray Abraham as Cyrus Criticos. Going into the movie, It just pretty much opens up. This is a scene I always remember when I think about 13 Ghosts, is this junkyard scene where they're going to hunt down the Juggernaut. At this point, you don't really know what's going on until you kind of get the backstory later. But Cyrus and Dennis, played by Matthew Lillard. Dennis is the one that kind of can sense these ghosts and kind of track them down for Cyrus so they can capture them. And they lead to the Juggernaut is in this junkyard. They said that he thought he killed like 7 people. And he's like, yeah, that was when he was alive. He racked up the body toll a little bit more since then. It was like 44 or something.
Yeah, it's way up there.
This starts off pretty quick, man, because they come in, they start investigating, and then before you know it, it's the body count's already rising. This is just a bloodbath immediately at the beginning.
Literally, they're spraying blood from that truck.
Yeah,
literally.
Yeah, and Matthew's, you're spraying blood everywhere, and it's just this truck. It reminds me of like Blade a little bit, just the sprinklers with the blood and everything. But that's what they're using as bait to lure him, the ghost, out there, and then he just goes on a rampage. Just like throwing cars around, smashing people with cars. The one that's just, oh man, it hurts every time, is where he like folds the dude backwards into that car. It reminds me of like the remake of The Blob. I don't know if you saw that, but there's like a part in The Blob where they snap someone backwards like that and pull them through a wall. Every time, man, it makes my back hurt.
Gets you.
Yeah. But yeah, he like picks up a car and just like throws it on top of a dude. He's just throwing people everywhere. But they have this huge cube that they're going to try to trap him in. And I guess it has like the scriptures around it and everything that can keep them contained. And once somebody had to kind of bite the bullet there, man, they had to lure him in there. And that dude got kind of trapped in that cube with him and was just getting destroyed.
This scene opens, and you were saying you kind of don't know what's going on, but this scene is like, you talked about how the guy's a visual specialist artist, and like this scene has great visual effects, like gore effects every which way.
Yeah.
The blood shooting, you said about the guy split in half when he's throwing him through the cube and shit. Awesome scene. So I really like how this movie opens.
Yeah, and then you get a couple of things before this happened. You kind of get a couple of things that go throughout the movie. Is Matthew Lillard's headaches.
He's like a psychic. Yeah,
he's like a psychic. He gets like these just these headaches when something's near, or whenever you see it later in the movie, he touches people and he can kind of see their past and stuff. Kind of reminiscent of the Dead Zone. Go watch that review from this past week. Kind of like that in a way. But you also get, I forget her name off the top of my head. I had it written down here. But she ends up coming back later in the movie. She's the one that tries to stop them. Her and her partner.
Yeah, she's kind of like yelling at Cyrus.
Yeah, they catch them sneaking in.
She's played by the teacher from Matilda, the good teacher. When I saw her, I was like, "Hey,
dude, I didn't even think of. I didn't put that together at all. That's crazy.
That's the good teacher.
That's wild, man. Her name is Kalina. That's what it is.
Weird shift.
It is a weird shift. I didn't even think about that, man. That's wild.
Miss Honey.
But they catch them sneaking in before all this pops off. They're just pretty much trying to stop them from catching these ghosts. Everything goes down. All these people get murdered. Pretty much everybody they came with gets murdered, except like Matthew Lillard at that point.
Yeah, basically.
And then he goes over. He finds her and her partner is dead. He's sitting there. He got like impaled. And then he's looking for Cyrus, and then like Cyrus took a shard of metal through the neck, man. What a hell of a way to open up a movie, man. It's just a massacre at this junkyard.
Yeah. You get the opening credits, and I want to shout out the opening credits real quick. There's a thing in movies where they always say "show don't tell" because it's a movie medium.
Yeah.
This is one section I actually like them telling. Kept the because they go over how the guy's wife died and she was burned in the building. Like the main character we're about to follow, Shalhoub, whatever his last name is. But I like this show. I like them telling us, not showing us in this one. And it's just kind of audio in the background. I thought that was great opening credits. I wrote that down.
Yeah. And not only you get the audio in the background, but as it's going on throughout the kind of the story that they're telling, the camera's kind of going around in a circle. And as it's going around, you see the house kind of change, from the fire. And then it goes from the nice house. You see the kids playing in the yard. And then as it kind of transitions, like the house gets on fire. And then it's in this tiny little apartment that they're in going into the start of the movie. Before we go into the next part here, the one thing we forgot to mention is when Cyrus and Dennis were talking in the beginning, Cyrus mentioned about a 13th ghost. And Dennis specifically says, like, well, you said there's only 12. I'm not contracted for 13. This is it. I'm helping you get this, and I'm out. You owe me money. That's it.
Yeah.
And then it just kind of everything happens from there.
So we'll get there.
But the movie's 13 Ghosts. We got to mention it because it does come into play here later in the movie.
And even though I'll bring it up, there was already 13 Ghosts, but
After the credits, you go right into that scene, the breakfast scene. They're getting ready for work and everything. They get a knock at the door, and it is a lawyer, Cyrus's lawyer, who's pretty much just brought them a video of Cyrus saying that they inherited this house, they inherited his fortune, everything. They never don't have to worry about their troubles pretty much anymore. He's pretty much like a long lost uncle or cousin, uncle of Arthur in this movie. But it's it sets the tone for the family in this opening scene with the breakfast. You kind of just get the chemistry between them. They have Maggie, who's the babysitter there now. But you get the chemistry, you get the feel for the whole family. They inherit this house. They don't know what they're getting into here. And then they just kind of have to pick up everything and drive a couple hours away out in the middle of just nowhere, man. Out in the middle of nowhere. And then you get a cool look at the house finally. It's just like this huge... It looks metal at the first time you see it, and then before everything opens up. But you have this weird key that he inserts, and it just kind of goes into the house itself and unlocks, and then you just start seeing... Pretty much what you'll see throughout the rest of the movie is the house kind of shifting and moving.
The house is a character almost on its own. It's so cool. It's all glass. Like the whole house is built out of glass. Yeah. And like I always loved the house. It was one of those set pieces even younger. I was like, that's really cool. Just a cool set piece.
Yeah, and it's something you don't see very often. And I don't know if we've seen anything like it since. It's very unique in this movie, and it kind of makes it stick out because, like you said, it is a character amongst itself. It does change throughout the course of this movie. But as they are going into this house, they run into the power guy. Who's there to check on the box because everybody else has power in the neighborhood, even though they're like out in the middle of nowhere, went out.
Yeah, the neighborhood.
But it is Matthew Lillard. He's posing as a power guy to kind of get in the house. He wants to get his money that he's owed pretty much, and that's what he's looking for. They put the key in, and it starts the pendulum, which starts pretty much the motion of the house going forward. Arthur, they're kind of looking around the house. Arthur goes to sign the papers, and that's where pretty much everybody splits up at this point.
Yeah, stupidly. I guess not.
And he even makes a point like, I know who you are. Stay here.
Then why wouldn't you take him with him?
Right. Why wouldn't you take that way you keep an eye on him? Even though all the windows are glass.
Yeah,
you should be able to keep an eye on him.
He does say that he didn't want to say about how broke he is in front of his kids. So maybe that's why he's
because it does make a point saying even with the taxes and everything, I have no money saved up because of the fire. I can't afford this, and he's pretty much saying you never have to worry about anything again. Cyrus was a financial genius. He made sure you guys were set for life. That's before they even know his plan at this point.
Yeah. While this is going on, Matthew Lillard's in the basement. Right. This is the first time he goes in, and he starts seeing these cages, I guess.
Yeah, pretty much like the cubes, a little bigger than the cube we saw at the junkyard in the beginning. But yeah, they're like these little prisons that are all these ghosts are in. He pulls out the glasses. This is the second review me and you have done in a row where the main characters have to use glasses or goggles to see the enemy. Go back and watch the Hollow Man review that we did.
Maybe they used the same glasses too. They almost look the same, actually.
Well, the Hollow Man are goggles. Yeah, they were goggles. But he happens to have a pair on him. But he was getting the migraines, and he's like, wait a minute, something's not right here. Throws on the glasses. He sees all the ghosts are around here, and immediately he's like, all right, jig's up. I'm not a power guy. You got to get out of here, man. I know it sounds crazy, but me and your uncle were pretty much involved hunting down these ghosts. Not really sure what he was using them for, but he was supposed to pay me decent money to do so. And he even says it's about the money, but at this point you need to get out of the house. This is for your safety.
We'll talk about it later.
Yeah, we'll talk about that later. But you need to get the hell out of this house. They are kind of reluctant to believe him at first, and then he starts going into kind of a seizure, he starts freaking out. He's on the floor, which gives the lawyer kind of some time to sneak away for a little bit to collect his share of the dough.
They're upstairs now. The family's upstairs. They're looking for the kid and the baby. These people split up too. It's the older sister, the kid, and the babysitter. And of course, they all split up too at this point.
Yeah.
Stupid.
Yeah, they split up. The lawyer's in the basement, and Arthur's kind of trying to take care of Dennis, Matthew Lillard's character. And as he's kind of taking care of, he Matthew Lillard grabs a hold of him, and he sees like the vision of his dead wife and everything, and then he like kind of he knows
Yeah.
something that you kind of find out. Arthur finds out later in the movie. We'll get to. The lawyer goes into the basement. He happens to have a pair of those glasses already, so he knew what was going on at the whole time. He was a part of this. He's walking
he's
through.
joking.
He's joking around, saying that like the one lady, he's like, nice tits,
Yeah.
as he's walking by her, and then she like tries to attack him through the glass. But yeah, there's like a secret button he presses that opens up like that door to where all the like the machine is, all the gears and stuff. And as soon as he pulls that briefcase, they're like sitting on some foot pedals. That triggers, the doors opening up, letting out these ghosts one at a time, pretty much, because they're not all released at once. Through the course of this movie, they're all kind of slowly getting let out, and then by the end of the movie, they're all let out.
The first is the ghost, the chick he was making fun of. She's the first one.
Yeah, and then he goes, he steals some money. As he's leaving, she's out, kind of chasing him down. He's slowly backing away, and this is one of the cooler kills in the movie, man. This is one that
kill.
Everybody remembers. That glass slides and just kind of splits him straight down the middle, man. And you just see his like the front half sliding down the glass with the blood, and you see his brain and stuff. That effect, like you talked about the effects in the beginning, that effect, it still holds up. It is awesome.
Yeah.
And
well, like I said,
go ahead, man.
Go ahead. Well, like I said, you were saying how the director was a special effect. These movies are like special effect people become directors are always great effect movies.
Yeah.
There's a bunch of examples of them, but I didn't know that this guy was. But it makes sense. Even the ghost makeup looks great on all these ghosts.
Yeah, you don't see too much CGI in this movie. Mostly it comes towards like the end of the movie with the machine and everything. That's where most of it is. But I feel like nowadays, if you made this movie now, it would be like tons of CGI all over the place with the ghosts.
Yeah, all the ghosts, I'm pretty sure, are practical effects. They all look very convincing and scary.
A lot of it seemed like it was practical effects overall.
But the sliding glass door, you are right, is one of the coolest effects. And they slide down at different times, like the front slides down.
Yeah.
I don't know if you caught the joke, but later when they're all rounding everybody up because the lawyer's all freaking up the nanny lady, she's like, "Where'd the lawyer split to?"
Yeah, she has a couple, like, she's pretty much there for like the comic relief, kind of like those one-liners. Like when they enter the house, she's like, "I don't do windows."
Don't do windows.
But yeah, she's pretty funny throughout the movie though. But immediately the chick that was kind of stalking the lawyer goes up to the bathroom where it's implied that that's how she killed herself. And then maybe not in that bathroom, but that's pretty much implied how she killed herself. But Shannon Elizabeth's up in that crazy looking bathroom, like looking in the mirror and everything. And then it cuts. You just kind of see like the blood all over the walls.
The camera goes through the glasses.
That's what I thought. Yeah.
The camera goes through the glasses.
That's a bad CGI effect, like going through the glasses. But you see like the blood all over the walls. The naked chick standing behind her, looking at her, like looking in the mirror. She's so creepy, man. Like that
she's
chick.
Creepy.
But yeah,
I love
Marissa.
Marissa made fun of this scene because her hair's up and she's like fixing it, and Marissa's like, "How long could she fix 3 strands of hair?" Because there's like 3 strands of hair.
Move it aside. They should have had her like just like putting her hair up and doing all that kind of stuff.
She's literally with this 3 strands of hair the entire time.
But while she's in the bathroom doing all that, the kid gets split up from the nanny because she's kind of chasing her around, and by like she just turns around and the kid just kind of, he's using the scooter, he just kind of gets away from her. But yeah, in the bathroom, the chick kind of goes into the bathtub. It's filled with blood, and then Shannon Elizabeth goes over. She's like washing her face, and like, I don't know about you, but I wash my face in the sink. I don't go sit next to the bathtub and wash my face in the bathtub. But I understand why they did it, I guess. But that was a creepy scene too. Just the chick sitting there in the bathtub filled with blood, just looking at her, and then she goes to attack her, and it's kind of like a jump scare. Which I was surprised with a movie with 13 ghosts. There's not a lot of like jump scares in the movie at all. Yeah. Just a lot of freaky imagery during like the seizure parts, like the just the flashing strobe effects that go on during the ghost scenes.
Yeah.
Bobby, the kid, gets split up from the family, and he finds his way to the basement. Terrible place for a kid at this point. And it's kind of a cool scene because you mentioned before like the audio cues in this movie, and during this scene, as he's walking down, you hear like the ghost trying to lure him, like, "Come down, Bobby, come play with us," or whatever. And then like you hear his mom saying, "Don't do it, Bobby, go back upstairs."
Yeah, turn around.
Yeah, turn around, and it's just like all audio. And the kid's just like, "Oh, like who's there?" Like you don't really know if he hears anything but you hear it.
Yeah.
But yeah,
Stupid kid.
he's being stalked by the ghost the whole time. Arthur, in the meanwhile, like, he's trying to say, like, all right, if this is true, Bobby split up, we got to go get him. Dennis is like, fuck that. I'm chilling here. Like, you can go find him. I'm not going anywhere. I want my money, and that's about it. And then Arthur convinces him to go along. He says, fuck it, fine, I'll go. And they all go into the basement looking for him. And then that's like even more stuff's going on. More doors are opening. The entranceway they came in closed. They can't leave at this point. The main entrance to the house is closed. So they're pretty much just trapped in this house that's just ever evolving throughout the movie.
The house, like we said, the sliding doors, they kind of bring it up here. There's script on all the walls, and it kind of explains why the ghosts can't go through them, because they're like containment scripts.
Yeah.
So like the ghosts are set to, like, they can't go through walls and shit. That's why they're not all floating around throughout the whole movie, which I thought was a good story plot, to make it that these ghosts just couldn't go anywhere. You know, they were pretty confined to where they were once they were outside the cubes, you know? So
yeah, and then that comes into play a little later. They kind of use it as a weapon at some point. Not a weapon, but a weapon of defense.
Yeah.
But as Bobby's down there, he sees a vision of his mom, and she's talking to him, and he backs up into one of those windows, and it's one of the prisons, and you actually see Cyrus there. He's a ghost. And I have some questions on this by the end of the movie, the whole Cyrus thing, because it's weird. It seems like he has different rules than these other ghosts for some reason.
He's not a ghost.
That's what I'm saying. Is like,
no, he's not a ghost.
That's what I thought. But he disappears in that scene. Like when Bobby he just backs up into the darkness.
Yeah.
But how's he hiding in this house when it's all glass?
No idea. But my thing with Cyrus is this like 10 minutes after this happened? Because he still has the wound on his neck.
Yeah.
Like throughout the whole film. But they make it clear that he's not, because he kisses the girl and shit.
Yeah.
He like kisses the girl and
he
then
fights Arthur at the end.
Yeah, and then Arthur pulls the glasses off and he's still there.
Yeah.
He's definitely not a ghost. So I don't know why his wound is still there.
How did he fake it? Like,
I think he just like fakes it with the girl
during the no, I mean like at the junkyard, like whenever at everything, he's just like, he lays down and he like puts the makeup on, sprays the fake blood.
Is it gone? One eye open. Like,
yeah, Matthew Lillard gone. Yeah, I want to. They needed to show that, kind of explain how he did this a little bit more, but they kind of leave that very vague. But we'll get to that a little bit more in the movie later. They find Bobby's tape recorder because Bobby was running away. He runs into He's trying to use a scooter. He hits a wall. He falls, and then he just kind of keeps running. But as they're investigating, Matthew Lillard is showing Maggie like the glasses, and he shows her the hammer is what they call him, the big dude with like the railroad spikes in him. He's one of my favorite ghosts in the movie. But he's showing her and puts on the glasses, and he's too close. He like punches the window.
Which they do a ton.
They do that a ton. He does it like immediately again when he gets the glasses back from her too, and then that's when he flips them off. But he gets a vision of his own death at that point. Like when he flips them off, he gets a vision of like him getting beat up, and then like the Juggernaut like kills him. He's also telling Maggie like, yeah, these ghosts are here, but you don't want to. There's one you don't want to see, and that's like the Jackal. And he's like the Charlie Manson of ghosts, pretty much. And as he says that, Shannon Elizabeth, she gets attacked by the Jackal, which is a pretty cool scene because he's just like dragging her down these hallways, just slashing the shit out of her, mauling the hell out of her.
Yeah, she can see him, right? She has the glasses, but he doesn't.
She has the glasses
on.
Yeah, but she's just getting dragged and mauled down this hallway and everything. And that Jackal is so freaky, man, with the cage on its head.
He's one of my favorites.
Yeah.
I like the Jackal.
Arthur runs into the teacher from Matilda.
Mrs. Honey.
I forgot her name already. She saves them pretty much with using just flares and shit, which I guess flares is what scares ghosts.
Light.
They should have brought more flares. Well, there's light throughout the house, but there's still ghosts. So I don't know how that works. She saves everybody, and then she shows him the book. It's like the Archaeum, and then she explains like the house is a machine designed by the devil and it's powered by the dead, which is the reason he brought the ghosts in. She never really says what it does though at this point, but it kind of cuts and actually shows the machine. It looks like this hourglass full of gears that are just
swinging.
Yeah, just getting faster every time these like doors open up. Dennis and Maggie end up splitting up because of the shifting walls and everything. He gets trapped in one of these cells, which is held by the prince, I believe his name is, the dude with the baseball bat. He looks like a
Yep.
greaser, and he doesn't even have the glasses on. He's just relying on her, just telling him, like, duck, move out of the way, or whatever.
Yeah. Left, right.
Yeah, and we've been seeing so far through this movie, like, everything kind of moves after a while, but no, the doors move. He goes in. He's in there for like a couple minutes, if that, and then the doors open up again. He does a action spin out of the out of the door there before it closes. This is the part where it's going forward, man. It's nonstop from this point.
They stop explaining story. It is literally just next set piece after next set piece after next set piece after next set piece. You're getting all the ghosts pretty much. You get to see all the ghosts at this point.
Yeah.
Because they've been kind of keeping them. You've seen some of them at this point, but this one they're like boom, 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 ghost.
Yeah. You get to see a lot of them. Some of them they don't really attack people. They're just kind of there to be creepy and just to freak people out a little bit. But yeah, at this point, because they get away from them, they actually end up running into everybody else. And they kind of have a little powwow. And the only ones really missing, they actually lose Shannon, Elizabeth, and the kid at this point. So it's just pretty much the adults that kind of meet up. And before they actually show that, like, kind of the exposition scene where they're kind of developing a plan and everything, you get, I actually didn't remember this, and I didn't appreciate it when I was younger, but you get a kind of a scene where it's just these slow atmospheric shots throughout this house with nothing going on. There's really no music. It just shows like these empty hallways of this house just going through it. And I really like that. It kind of sets the tone.
I actually have that written down too, but a completely different take. I didn't like it.
Oh, you didn't
like it? I thought it was padding. I was like, why are we still here? I get why you like it, but I just, when I was watching, especially coming off like this, like we said, the scene in the basement is just boom, 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 and then it's like dead air, and I was like, what is happening?
And I like that, man. I think it's creepy because of the ghosts, because you don't know where they're going to be or anything. It's so quiet, and it's just, I don't know, it's a little freaky. But I can understand, because like the setting isn't exactly creepy, I guess, especially like up in the main part of the house, maybe the basement a little bit.
And I thought there was gonna be a ghost in, like, when they were doing it. I thought it was gonna end with a ghost, but it just cuts right back to where we were.
That's part maybe you would have put like a jump scare in or something.
Yeah.
Like, it's like the creepy hallways, and then all of a sudden like a ghost pops up or something. But yeah, you get them kind of getting together. Arthur gets actually attacked by the jackal when they're on their way. He gets his back shredded all to pieces and everything.
Yeah, Jackal does the most damage, dude. Jackal's fucking people up in this movie.
Yeah, for real.
He's looking to pick a fight.
And then you get a lot of kind of the exposition here. They explain that, well, Dennis explain to Arthur that his wife is the fourth ghost in this equation here. He said, like, I didn't even know you, man. I didn't know this was your wife or anything like that. Arthur ends up like just sucker punching him pretty much.
He takes it.
Yeah, he takes it. But he's like, I kind of deserve that though. But they pretty much go over all of the ghosts. You want to go through them?
Got them all. I'm going to go through them in order.
Okay.
We got the firstborn son, which is the kid with the Indian arrow sticking out of his head.
Yeah.
We got the torso. He's all cut up and wrapped in plastic.
Interesting thing about the torso is that was a real like double amputee they had, and they just put like a bag over his head so they could like green screen it, so they could green screen his head out. But they used an actual like double amputee for that role.
I guess for the movement would be easier than getting a dummy.
Yeah, you know? So yeah, that was a real person in there. Then they just digitally removed his head and everything.
Huh. All right, interesting.
Yeah.
The bound woman is number 3.
Yeah, that's the weird like chick that's like hanging there. You see her a couple times. She doesn't really do anything other than just be there.
This list I read said they go down in their threat level.
Oh, I mean, that makes sense.
Yeah, which doesn't make sense though, because number 4 is the withered lover, and I think she is the least threatening because that's
she's there trying to help them.
Yeah, that's the mom, the burned mom, who her makeup's pretty good. It doesn't make a lot of sense, like she's only burned on one side.
Yeah, it reminds me of Spawn, like the movie Spawn, the way they did Michael Jai's makeup after he gets roasted. It looks like that.
Yeah. No, yeah, I see that. The Torn Prince you went over.
That's the baseball bat.
Baseball bat.
Looks like a greaser.
Another cool design. I liked him.
Mm-hmm.
Then the Angry Princess, who's the standout role.
Yeah, naked chick with the butcher knife.
Naked chick. This is actually funny. She's a fan favorite. Only movie she's ever been in this movie. Only film she's ever been in.
Yeah.
And people love her. As we can see why. The Pilgrimist. You don't see a lot of her, but she's the one in the gallows.
In the gallows, the shadows.
Yeah. We got number 8 and 9. So never mind, I'm wrong. There is the great child and the dire mother. It's a
Yeah,
big.
they're just creepy. They don't really do anything, but oh man, they're the ones that kind of like they gross me out. The like
They
this
gross me
just
out.
dude, like this big baby with like food all over his face, and the
The
mom's
grown
creepy.
man child. Yeah,
Yeah,
I have. They gross me out too. I'll tell you when we get to it in the story.
yeah,
Um, the hammer, who's very cool.
yeah. I like his design. Apparently, I saw that he was like he wasn't even supposed to be in the movie. Like they had the
Really,
design for the hammer, but the guy that played him, they just kind of ran into him. He like worked like on the production of it, and they're like, "Hey, you'd be a good fit for this role, this big dude." So he
he's a
just
big
brought him
fucker.
in to play the role.
Yeah, he's super cool. I like. He's probably the coolest design. Probably, I'd say most
Yeah.
unique.
Yeah, and the
Uh,
makeup on him looks great too.
Great on him. He's probably the best makeup out of everybody. Because he actually seems like he has a ton of makeup.
Yeah.
Like with all those prosthetics, he probably took forever in the chair.
Yeah.
The jackal, who's kind of cool.
Yeah, I like the Jackal.
I like
She's
the
scary.
jackal. I think it's a he.
He's
Mhm.
scary then.
Yeah, Ryan Koo. They all have backstories, by the way, on this website.
Yeah,
Every single one
apparently
of
the DVD that they released back in the day, there's special features that go over all the ghosts and their backstories and
I,
everything.
I was going to bring it up. I actually remember it.
Oh,
I remember
really?
because I said we rented it, and I remember going through each of their little stories.
Yeah, I had the VHS, so I didn't have that at the time.
And then number 12, who we did talk about, is the Juggernaut, who kind of boring effects, but it looks good.
Yeah, he
Nothing
looks
special
good,
about him.
but apparently
He's just
he's like the most powerful, it seems, out of all of them. Like he's the one that everybody's afraid of, man.
yeah,
And
he's the
yeah, he was the one that was tearing shit up at the beginning of the movie. And I think even though he mass murders everybody, he massacres everybody at the beginning of the movie, where you see him eventually later, I feel like he's scarier then than at the beginning of the movie. Just
oh
like the
yeah.
presence that he has. But we'll get to that.
They hype him up a lot when I think the hammer and the jackal are more intimidating looking.
Yeah, I think they look more intimidating. Yeah,
Yeah,
but just that scene that you see him in later, the way that it's shot and everything makes him look intimidating, and
for
it's very
sure.
scary. But yeah, they go through all the ghosts, and then they explain to him that the machine is opening an eye to hell at this point. That makes the person that opened it, pretty much a powerful being, pretty much the most
All
powerful person.
knowledge.
All
Yeah.
knowledge at that point. Arthur is the 13th ghost, and he would have to sacrifice himself to pretty much end it all, to stop the process at this point, or to
Which makes
complete
no
it.
sense.
Yeah, I don't know. Wait, it's
Why
to
would
complete the process. That's it. He's the 13th ghost because he's the one that would complete the process. Because Cyrus is trying to trick him into doing it.
Yeah, but I'm with you. She says in there that he is like the fail safe to end it. So I'm not sure if Cyrus wants to get the eye and then end it, and that's why he wants to do it, or what.
Yeah, it's a little weird.
This is where the story starts
because
getting.
like yeah, she said that he was the fail safe, and I don't
Mhm.
know if that's by sacrificing himself or just like I don't know because he goes and saves his kids then, but we'll get to that. But yeah, it's a little confusing, and
Yeah,
a
this
lot
is
of
where
it gets confusing as far as Cyrus, like you mentioned before.
this is where the story starts kind of like it becomes less of just like a ghost story, and I understand it has to keep moving, but like
Yeah,
this is where the story gets a little like eh. But
yeah, it kind of falls apart a little bit. Everything up to this point has been great so far, but yeah, just like the exposition and kind of them trying to explain everything, it's a little messy.
yeah, I'm okay with a ghost story that isn't. It doesn't need this big, huge plot. It could just be a ghost story, it's fine.
Yeah,
But
and that's what the
so
original was at that point. It
yeah,
was just a ghost story. It didn't have all these machines. It didn't have this, this villain plot in it. Really, I don't think. But yeah, at this point, Arthur and Dennis they decide like, all right, we're gonna go get the kids. We're gonna go find them. They're like, if this is actually Arthur's plans too. Like, you're gonna come and help me. And they take just a big piece of this wall that was just chilling there. I guess they took they took that,
yeah,
and they're gonna pretty much use that as a shield the whole time as they're down looking for his daughter and son. And as they're walking through the corridor with this just big ass piece of glass, they get attacked by the prince, and they're defending themselves from him. Maggie and Kalina, they're together, kind of going through the house. They find the machine room. Another twist in the story. Cyrus appears, and then Kalina knocks out Maggie, and then, oh, they were in cahoots together. And then, like you were saying, this is confusing. She ends up actually, like, kissing him, and he's like a
yeah.
real person at this point.
And he's a dick to
And
her
he's a dick to her
the entire time.
The entire time. And even though she set everything in motion, she did everything he wanted her to do, but nope, he's still a dick to her. Just I guess because he's evil. He's just full evil.
Big gash in his neck still. Fine, it's makeup, but why the fuck didn't he clean up from here? You know, like,
yeah, if he's not a ghost, why does he have all this shit all over him too?
Like, why didn't he clean up?
Yeah,
like,
and if they found him, it's not like he died there. He died in a completely different place. Why would his body be there? So it was like, it didn't make any sense.
I have no idea.
Or he's like, oh, I'm a ghost. he was pretending to be a ghost the whole time.
I have no idea.
Until they take their, like, wait a minute, you're not a ghost. They took their glasses off.
Oh, wait a second.
But yeah, they knock Maggie out. You find out they're in cahoots together. It cuts back to Arthur and Dennis. They're getting attacked by the Hammer at this point, who gets let out. Hammer kind of has a debt to settle with Dennis, fucking flipping the bird and making fun of him a little bit, fucking with him while he's in prison a little bit. And then Dennis kind of sacrifices himself. Like, hey, man, there's only room for you in this corner. They put the glass up against the corner so nobody could get to him. And he's ducking and jiving a little bit, man. But then he gets caught up, man, with that hammer. He's just getting he gets slammed. He gets cracked in the back of the head. And then the Juggernaut gets out, man. And then the Juggernaut comes and he just finishes the job. And he looks so, like, just mean and, like, so imposing in this scene. Just the way that it's shot, man.
Yeah, coming down that hallway.
Hallway, and he just picks him up, and he's just throwing him against the glass. And, man, that scene where he just picks him up and just breaks him against the corner of that wall, it's awesome.
Dude hates backs.
He hates backs. That's a special move. That's a special. You put him in a fighting game, that's a special. That's his fatality.
Breaking backs. No, this is, I always tell you every time we do a review together what my favorite line is. This is my favorite line, is when he's in the corner and Dennis says to him, he's like, I've been dying for a way to live with myself. Yeah. And I love that line. So I love that line. And you are right, when the Juggernaut's coming down, it's so imposing, because Dennis is getting beat with the hammer at this point. He's still just worried about the Juggernaut. And he's just looking at the Juggernaut
he's like,
at this point.
Fuck.
Yeah, like he's getting his ass whooped behind him.
Yeah, and then this dude coming he knows this dude's even more of a big deal.
Yeah, he's like,
he's gonna finish the job. And he's not gonna do it lightly too. He's gonna take his time.
Yeah.
And then you actually get a nice scene. Arthur's wife comes, and then he kind of gets a moment with his wife there for a little bit, and he's just like, I can't do this. Like, I don't know what to do at this point. And she's just kind of reassuring him, like, you got to save our kids. Like, this is on you. But that kind of gives him the courage that he needs to, go forward and try to rescue his family. That cuts back to Cyrus and Kalina at this point, and she's explaining that we got to get Arthur into the trap. We got to get him to be the 13th ghost and sacrifice himself. Well, he's not going to do it willingly. Go ahead, man. Sorry, I didn't mean to.
No, you didn't cut me off. You actually made it. Maybe she told him he was the failsafe because she was trying to trick him.
It's possible.
So that's what I'm thinking at this point.
When she's talking to Cyrus, it seemed like she didn't want to do that. Or she didn't want to put the kids in harm's way. That's it.
Kids in harm's way.
Yeah. Because he's like, well, she's not willingly going to just sacrifice himself. When he's like, well, use the kids.
Make him,
yeah. and as they're moving out, he betrays her, man. He has a door shut right behind him, and then you get this is kind of a cool scene. The CG in it's a little
not
iffy.
as yeah.
It's not as good on this one.
Yeah.
But yeah, you get the wall closing in and it squishes her, and right before she's about to bust, that's whenever like the camera cuts away, man. Like you just see her kind of just getting squished. The kids, they put them in the middle of that room. Pretty much the main hall that you see, where it's just that little spinning circle, and every time a ghost gets released, one of the circles in there starts spinning. Yeah. At this point, they're just kind of stuck in the middle, and it's just this huge gyroscope around them, just kind of spinning, and it's just going to cut anything that gets in there. Arthur comes, and he's just like, what do I do now? How do I save my family? And then he has this big showdown with Cyrus. Cyrus, he has the cliche villain, like, this is what I did. This is how I did it. Like explaining everything pretty much, except for why he's here and why he's still alive. Yeah. Or if he's still alive. You don't really find out. I mean, you get a hint because Kalina kissed him earlier. But like as you mentioned before, Arthur's fighting him, and before he fights him, he takes his glasses off and he's still there. So he's still seeing Cyrus. So he has to be alive at this point, right?
He sees his wife later too without his glasses, so
what are the rules?
I don't know.
What are the rules? Like,
I don't know.
there's no rules to this movie. Like,
Whatever
they
they
change them however whatever fits their situation is what is the rules at that point in time. But yeah, he fights Cyrus in just this little, like, it's not even that much of a fight. They're just kind of like scuffle,
Yeah.
throwing each other back and forth.
Cyrus gets the upper hand pretty quick.
Yeah, and then the Maggie, in the meantime, wakes up from getting knocked out, and she just starts pulling random fucking switches and levers and shit, and that kind of fucks up everything. So the whole time they were trying to figure out what's going on, they're like, there's no way around it. The only way, like, there's no way to stop what's happening here. There's no way to get out. All you have to do is just fucking pull all the levers.
Push the buttons.
Just push the buttons. Push all the buttons, pull all the levers. Because that starts fucking up all the gears. During this process, it's kind of a ritual. They have the tape playing, which summons all the ghosts around the circle, kind of the ritual. And by her doing all of this, it throws off the machine. The ghosts kind of break out of that spell, and then they immediately go after Cyrus because he's the one that trapped him there. And they just pick him up and just toss him in. And this is another, really one of the only CGI parts, but it's bad CGI. Just him get just sliced up and cut in that machine there.
This is we were talking about how disgusting that baby is. This is the one part that got me because his head is the closest to the baby. And I was like, oh, couldn't the baby be on the bottom? Because like his head's like, it doesn't do anything, but his head's like real close to like his bib with all that green shit on it. I was like,
ugh. But yeah, by them throwing him in the machine, it fucked up the machine even more. So it's not going as fast, and it kind of
like stops for
it's
a
like
second.
it reminds me of like a platforming video game at this point. You gotta get the timing just right to get in there. And apparently Arthur's good at that, the old Nintendo shit, because
he's been playing Frogger forever.
First jump, man, he makes it successfully. And I don't know how they survive this next spot, because the whole house blows all the windows, which they were trying to break these windows before, and they couldn't break them. So the force of this blast is powerful enough to break all the windows in this house. But them chilling there in this little huddle in the middle of the house are fine, right above the machine that blows up.
Maggie too, below the machine.
Below the machine, she's cool.
She's cool.
She's fine too. So I don't know, man. Maybe they're ghosts at the end. Maybe that should have been the twist. They were the ghosts too. Maybe they died at the very end. That's how maybe she's able to see his wife. I don't know. That probably would have been explained a little bit more there. They died of the explosion. Like, that would have been like a last second twist before you cut the credits.
That should have been the cut. Just like Arthur's face hits the camera.
Well, not them like dying, but like after the aftermath and everything, you get the moment with his wife or whatever, and then like you see the other ghosts walking out of the house, and then they're just kind of disappearing. Maybe you see them walk out and then they disappear or something. You're like, oh shit, they died in that or something.
They were ghosts.
But you also get, maybe they weren't ghosts, but you get Matthew Lillard as a ghost.
You do,
like,
yeah,
because
he kind of
leaning up against the wall, cleaning his glass.
Cool,
you could do it, man. Believe in yourself.
It's love, man. Love's the most powerful emotion.
Where it's like, it's cool to see Matthew Lillard again, but we probably didn't need that. That was a little it was a little crazy. Like, all right,
he is the best part of the movie, though.
He is the best part of the movie, man. He is the main character in this.
Yeah.
But yeah, they're the survivors. They stopped everything. The house blew up. They get a nice, touching moment. The family gets to see their mom again before she's free. She's free to go on in the afterlife.
That was too Casper for me.
Too Casper.
I was like, what? It was too
yeah. Yeah, I understand what you mean. But yeah, that's a little heartfelt moment to end the movie. But you get the
and she looks better too, by the way.
Yeah,
she's not all burnt either.
She's completely
good.
Yeah, but none of the other ghosts were fixed.
Yeah. Only she gets to be fixed. All the other ghosts are all fucked up.
She was nice.
Still.
She didn't kill anybody. She gets her body fixed. But yeah, you see all the ghosts. Pretty much, they get free. They escape. And then they couldn't help themselves. They had to throw that one little bit of comic relief there at the end of the movie. Shows Maggie all like beat up and stuff, just walking through this house.
I am sick of this nanny shit. I've had it. This was not in the job description. I quit.
But that's the end of the movie. It goes out on a comedic note, which I feel that was a little forced as well. I feel like it would have been nice, just like you had your special moment with your wife, and then you could have kind of faded out with the ghost walking out of the house. Just was like touching music, and then cut the credits.
and then cut to hardcore rock music because it was a lot of hardcore rock music. Yeah. It's like new metal. This is when new metal was pretty popular.
That 2000s new metal, man.
Mm.
And bro, since we're at the end of the movie, not only this movie, but pretty much damn near every horror movie in that early 2000s, like especially like with the Dark Castle ones, like House of Wax, House on Haunted Hill, they all had like that's not only like the new metal music and that certain like genre music involved with the movie, but they all had that same feel as well as far as like a horror movie. They were all kind of shot the same. They had that same tone to them. So you can automatically, when you watch these, you tell it's all right. Yeah, this is a early mid 2000s horror movie.
This is a Dark Castle movie.
Yeah, this was our horror movies growing up.
Yeah, we didn't have Hammer or any of that shit. We had Dark Castle. They're not bad. I mean, I know we're talking about 13 Ghosts, but all these Dark Castle movies we discussed, Ghost Ship, it's fine. It's pretty good.
I was gonna say Ghost Ship's probably my least favorite out of them all. I like House on Haunted Hill a lot, but this is actually probably one of my favorites.
Ghost Ship has Mudvayne in it, and I fucking love Mudvayne. That's a good rock band.
And it did have one of the best openings too, like the the ship with that wire going and cutting everybody in half and shit.
I like House of Wax. It's one of the first movies I ever owned, me personally.
Oh, really?
Like, I bought it, yeah, and it's got one of my least favorite scenes in any movie. We're not reviewing that movie, but makes me sick.
I bet I know
time.
what it is. It's the Achilles, right?
It's definitely the fucking Achilles.
It still holds up, man. It's a pretty good movie.
It's a pretty good movie too.
But maybe we'll review that at some point. But yeah, that's the end of 13 Ghosts. This is a classic to me. Like, this is one I'm probably going to go back to every so often, just because this is a movie we grew up with. This is one of the first horror movies I really got to experience, especially one that came out in our time.
Yeah, me too.
Okay, man.
The story is kind of meh. I'll give everybody who makes that criticism fine. The effects are fantastic, though. They're top notch almost the whole way through the movie because they're mostly practical.
Yeah.
All the ghosts are super cool. It's one of those movies also I love, and I want to bring this up. And you said about the DVD. Doing the research on the ghost afterwards is kind of cool, like it's a movie you can do a little research afterwards, and they all kind of got their own little backstories, and it's just kind of cool.
It adds some depth to it.
Yeah.
And some lore to the movie. But yeah, man, you hit the nail on the head perfectly. This movie, like the ghosts are super cool. The effects are outstanding. I mean, you could tell because the director was a previous FX, artist. But not only that, but the pacing of the movie is great too. Like, there's really no downtime in this movie at all. It keeps chugging along. It's only like an hour and 30 minutes average movie time. Maybe not now average movie time, but at the time it was. But it goes by so fast too. Like, it's so well paced. All the ghosts are cool. I wouldn't say it's super scary, maybe like to the younger audience, because it's more like visual horror, just in a way, like how grotesque kind of the ghosts are and everything.
Yeah. We're both horror hounds, so it takes a lot to scare me. But I have to admit, Marissa watched this with me. She made me stop it because she doesn't do well with horror.
Oh, really?
And it took us 2 sittings to watch because she made me turn it off the first time. She's like, we were going to bed, and she was like, I don't want to go to bed to this. And I was like, okay. So take that with what it is,
Yeah, it's one of those horrors where it's not like it's not a super atmospheric, like creepy horror movie. It's one of those ones that's like in your face. This is what it is. Like, that's what we talked about. It's the flashing of just the crazy, violent, and ghostly images that are just popping up all the time throughout the course of this movie. But it does have a little atmosphere here and there. I love the setting of the movie. The house is unique, like you said. It's pretty much a character of itself in the movie.
Yeah.
And you also get just a character arc for Arthur too, and a couple of these characters, and Dennis also throughout the course of this movie. Dennis more so, but also Arthur, because he kind of throughout the course of the movie, he's still down about his wife dying. They're still getting over that because they only said it was like 5-6 months removed from that. So he's still kind of getting over that, but by the end of the movie, he's learned to move on at this point. So he has his story arc. Dennis has his. But overall, I think it's a very solid movie still.
Yeah, no, I'm with it. Like I said, Dennis is my favorite character. Great acting by Matthew Lillard. I actually watched this with my son too, and he's like, "It's Shaggy," and I was like, "It's Shaggy."
Now we normally do like a buy it, rent it, or miss it. Obviously, we're not going to miss this movie. This is one I don't own, but after rewatching it, talking about it, I think this is one I'm going to want to add to my collection because I do know they released like a newer version of it on Blu-ray here recently. I think it was through like Shout Factory or something.
Oh, nice.
But this is one I think I'm going to want to add to my collection here eventually, so I would buy it.
I'm not super as high on the praise. I actually do own this movie, but just because of from when I was a kid, I own the DVD still.
Yeah.
But the story is rough for me. You put me in a hard place here. If you're a visual junkie and like you're just there to see cool shit, I'm with Wyatt. Buy it. It's a great film for that. If you need a story to keep you going, this might not be your one.
Yeah, and I think I'm saying it really purely off of nostalgia. Like I would buy it, but for everybody else, if you're into horror and everything,
depends what you're going for.
I would rent it. I would say it's a must see if you're just a horror aficionado. Sure. I think it's definitely something you need to watch if you're into horror. Maybe not necessarily buy for the average viewer though.
It depends what you're going in there looking for, So and some people love visual, but some people buy movies for just visual effects, So it's somewhere in the middle. It's a rebuy it.
A rebuy it.
A rebuy it for me. It's close.
But yeah, that's the review here. Make sure to like, share, and subscribe. Where can everybody catch you here, Alex?
They can find me always on the Waves 5 channel. I'm with Wyatt also too, and every Friday on Tap That.
Nice. Go check out Tap That, everybody. Make sure to like, share, and subscribe here. And make sure to go follow us at Waves 5 Media on Twitter as well. Check out all the content on the Waves 5 channel if you're watching from there. If you haven't already, go to the Cinema Trip Reviews channel itself and like and subscribe, and vice versa if you're on the Cinema Trip Reviews channel already. And we'll see everybody next week.